It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley and I'm Gary McNamara. All across America, we are. Good morning. In one of the interviews that Trump did, this one with the Washington Examiner, he said, the reality is just setting in. I rarely look away from the crowd. Had I not done that in that moment, well, we would not be talking today, would we? Talking as he boarded his plane to New Jersey, or his plane in New Jersey for Milwaukee, where the Republican National Convention starts Monday and lasts through Thursday. Trump said his speech will meet the moment that history demands. It's a chance to bring the country together. I was given that chance. Early Sunday morning, he posted on Truth Social that it was God alone who prevented the unthinkable from happening, and that he would fear not. Again, in talking with the Washington Examiner, he invoked God in his deliverance. There's a chance to bring the whole country, even the whole world, together. The speech will be a lot different from what it was going to be just 2 days ago.
Yeah.
The Washington Examiner's interview with Trump had been due to take place on his airplane on the return flight from the rally to New Jersey. That arrangement put this reporter just feet from Trump when he was shot. So Trump said his decision to raise his hand when the Secret Service was leading him off stage was to let the people there know he was okay and that America goes on, we go forward, and that we are strong. He said the photograph of him holding his fist in the air, blood streaming across his face as agents surrounded him, has already become the iconic image of the 2024 election. It's become more than that.
Yeah.
That photo will go down in United States history.
It absolutely will. It's more than just a meme. It's more than just a T-shirt. It is ingrained in the minds of Americans, but it is also going to be a central part to the history of that event, because that is, and it always is the case, in something like what happened over the weekend. History looks back on it, and every single snapshot and moment out of that, well, that's the snapshot that really has represented that event. The attempted assassination of Donald Trump is represented by the snapshot of him raising his fist in the air. And there's nothing that's going to change that.
Well, it'll go down in history. 100 years from now, people will be looking at that picture going, whoa.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that is the poster of that event. That is the one image out of that event that everybody will remember and history will remember. There's no way around that. I don't know what happens. We've got 4 nights of the convention. As you mentioned, Gary, the nature of the speech by former President Trump is changing. We're learning that. The New York Post has reported that. In fact, just a few hours ago, right about the time we went on the air, that hit at the New York Post website. And it has the potential of taking this campaign even further, and I mean the speech itself. But what happened on Saturday is one of those moments, and we go through it personally, we go through it as a nation together, where things become much more serious and considerations become much greater. And we're at that point now. And coupled with quite possibly if it is a successful convention with a series of speeches leading up to the president, including the president's speech, if it comes off anywhere close to what he did at Mount Rushmore, then there will be certainly some very serious considerations and decisions made, hearts and minds, whether they are changed or just convinced, however you want to phrase it. But it will set that momentum in place that I believe is next to, as close to irreversible as it gets. I won't say completely irreversible, but it would take a lot to reverse it.
You know, one of the problems that probably a lot of Republicans see, and maybe probably some independents also, is in the investigation here. We know that when it comes to investigations in this administration, they're never done.
Right.
Nobody is ever held accountable.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem that we have here is nobody on the right. Nobody trusts the FBI. Nobody trusts the Department of Justice. Now, they've earned that. They've earned the label of not being trusted. And I'm not talking about the rank and file agents.
Right.
I'm talking about the fact of anything that they do is always filtered through the bureaucracy of the Department of Justice. And when you've seen what the Department of Justice has done over the last couple of years, you know, you look, for example, at just the first part of Hunter Biden and the fact that they were just going to let him off on, for nothing. The fact that they, are they really investigating? We know we've had a special counsel looking at Joe Biden and everything else. Nothing's going to come out of that. We all know it. And so, we know the FBI, and we know because of the whistleblower FBI agents, they looking at, parents, jotting down their license plates in school parking lots when the parents are objecting to the radical transgender movement being taught, in their schools. You've got two problems here. Nobody believes that this administration acts with integrity and transparency on anything.
Right.
And the second thing is, I go to Peggy Noonan's column early on from the Wall Street Journal in the Biden administration. It seems like everything is broken. Mm-hmm. And what happened over the weekend, because, as I said, there may be a lot of the minutia of the situation that, we're not privy to yet. I'm sure there is. But nobody can understand. No one. And now the NBC report coming out late last night that the sniper did not follow protocol.
Yeah.
On that. And, the fact that you had a police officer that had climbed up that ladder.
Police officer. Yeah.
Local police officer, right.
Right.
Climbed up and confronted the shooter who pointed the rifle. He went back down, and then that's when the shots were fired. How in God's world? Because when you see the pictures of how close that is to the stage,
yeah,
and as I've said before, I've done the FBI, Treasury Department, Secret Service background check. I think 4 times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've done it a few times.
Yeah, not in a long time. They rejected me once I got on this show.
Yeah.
By the way,
you work with Eric. That's a no.
By the way. Mm-hmm. Happy 19th anniversary.
It is our 19th anniversary as a team.
Yeah.
It was July 15th, 2005. Wow.
And then you wondered about me a month later.
Thought you were going to, I thought right there, I'm like, I don't even know if we have a brain defibrillator in the building. But when Tom DeLay came out and said, you conservatives need to quiet down because we've cut all the spending we can spend. This is before we went on the air. And then you went on the air, and I'm like, that vein doesn't look like it's supposed to be bulging out of his head that much. And I'm no doctor, and I know there's a defibrillator in the hallway. I don't think it works on brains. I don't even know what to do.
And then you also, I think, probably were a little bit comfortable when you said, oh, okay, this guy may be all right because he calls out the BS from people that are viewed as conservative Republicans when they throw out BS.
Well,
that was the biggest load ever thrown at
And I had gotten some flack for that before we became a team.
Yeah, I know that, yeah.
And in fact, it had, some people, you're just a liberal, which is laughable. But that's, it made it so much better. I just thought, okay, we can at least, we've got the foundation for something good here. And here we are 19 years later. Wow, that's pretty amazing. I've lived in the house that I live in now longer than any other house that I've lived in, including as a child. And we've been a team. I was about 10 months after I moved in that house, basically. That's amazing. Wow. I had just become, a month before that, a grandfather for the first time, and she turned 19 last month, my oldest granddaughter.
Yeah, so 19 years now. Red Eye's been 12 of that, but we were working
Yes.
together beforehand as
Right.
a team.
Right.
Same time slot.
Yes.
We were under a different name.
And a
Yeah.
number of the same stations. And so it's been great. We're grateful for all of our great stations, all of our great sponsors. And look, our great listeners that have been so great and gracious and loyal and patient.
My
with us.
question is, how can you stand me?
Yeah. The listeners? No, I know why you're asking that. It's probably me. I probably temper it a bit for them.
What I remember is...
you mean me? Oh, never mind.
No, I meant me. when we... And it was probably a year, because we started in 2005.
Yeah.
So when did Facebook come out?
It was first born in 2004, but it really didn't start taking off until, I want to say 2009, 2010.
Okay, because it was a couple of years after we started working.
Yeah.
When we got the very minor controversy that was being written on. Okay, it would have been radio blogs back then.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
That, because you and I had mentioned that we were both on Facebook, but we weren't Facebook friends.
Right, yeah.
And the reason was that we just didn't want to know too much of what each other was doing in the day, so we would be fresh here.
We say, and our motto from day one has been everything for the show. In other words, you save all of that. We try not to even talk too much during the pre-show meeting, because we want everything to come out like firsthand. Boom! This is
we want first reactions from each other. We want it and we want it to sound. I want it to be fresh in my mind.
Right. Yeah.
What your response is.
Yeah.
And vice versa back to you.
Right.
But it got out there that, remember that? They're really not friends. They hate each other.
Oh, man. That was going on for a few years.
They hate each other.
That went on for a while.
And I had seen somewhere.
And I don't know how it got out.
I did see it somewhere. There was somebody who was in a radio team that had been together for a while.
Mm-hmm.
It said they were never friends, that they really didn't like each other, but the chemistry was there. I can't imagine that if you don't like the person that you're working with. And I guess liking the person you're working with is less important than trusting the person that you work with.
Well, it has to be a mutual trust, a mutual respect. And if it's not there, I mean, you can't have I don't think you can have the trust without the respect. And if you don't have those things in place, then I believe nothing good is going to come out of it. I think it would be so much of a task, but we've had that since the beginning, and it's quite unusual.
Well, it was because this is Monday, so it's interesting because that was a Monday we started, but it was the Friday of the first week.
Yeah.
That was an exciting time, because we both looked at each other and said, we might have something here.
Yeah. You know what?
You never know if you're going to have chemistry with the person that you're on the air with. And when it happens, even 19 years later, the only thing I can say, because people say, how do you have the chemistry? How does it work? How do you guys do it? The only thing I can say is, and I think this would be, you could take it, I think Seinfeld had the same thing. No, we don't care who gets the final word or the joke in the bit or the strongest statement in a segment.
That's part of everything for the show, because if you're selfless in it and understand ultimately what the goal is, which is to serve the audience, then
making the bit, whatever the bit, and people think the bit's just being funny, and it's not. The bit is communicating effectively, a particular thought.
Yeah, the presentation overall.
Yeah, and so and I think that was probably is it. But even if you have that, I don't know what makes the chemistry. I've never been able to figure that out. It just happens.
I've had friends that off the air, we could not stop laughing, and we just had great chemistry. And then one great friend of mine, still a great friend of mine today, but we did a radio show for just a few short months together, and it ended because on the air, it was not the same. And there's just no way to force it. There's no way to make it happen. I was reading a story about John Lithgow and Jeff Bridges working on a show together, and they had to be old friends in the show. In the storyline, they were old friends. And so Jeff Bridges just wanted to, spend as much time with John Lithgow as he could, and make that happen. And, it's acting, and when you're acting, it's not about presenting the truth. But when you're doing something like this, it has to be honest, and it has to be there, or it's not. And I can't explain it either, but I'm glad it's there.
Well, the only body who can explain it is Bob Schomper, who's the one who suggested we work together, who said, I just think you guys would work out.
Yep.
And so he takes full credit for it.
Yep.
We give him full credit, and he takes full credit.
Thank you, Bob.
866-90-RED-EYE.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
The USDA is out with its new production forecast for wheat crops.
Clearly, across the board, we saw increases in wheat production estimates, and honestly, for a lot of them, at the upper end or outside of the range of trade estimates.
USDA Chief Economist Seth Meyer, USDA is forecasting winter wheat production at 1.34 billion bushels. That's up 4% from its previous forecast, 7% from last season. That would make it the biggest winter wheat crop since 2016. USDA is also predicting bigger crops of durum and other spring wheat, with, however, the expected drop in prices.
And I think that those prices are visible within the market now, as the market's saying, hey, supplies are adequate, and we're going to bid the price lower.
Right after USDA issued its wheat forecasts, prices fell by 18 cents, about a 3% drop. Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Just think about this. When you and I started working together 19 years ago, it was just really the beginning of W's second term.
That's amazing to think about. Here we are. Here we would be in the summer of 2005. And it was March of 2003 when we went into Iraq. So we're obviously still in Iraq, clearly still in Afghanistan. The war on terror is still going on. Wow, just amazing to think about.
Obama hadn't given his 2000.
On our website, RedEyeRadioShow.com. Show info with stations, podcasts, and more. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Sorry I got cut off. I was just, because I'm in the celebratory mood. Hey, any beer? Any beer? Alcohol in the studio?
Not anymore.
Beer's all gone from the refrigerator.
Yeah.
No cake?
Not anymore.
Yeah, we're too old.
We never have cake.
Too many carbs.
We never get cake. And you shouldn't have cake.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, we have these anniversaries and stuff, but we don't celebrate anything anymore. We're too old for We acknowledge the celebrations and then move on.
Yeah, like, whatever.
No, but I was thinking that it was less than a year old that Obama gave his 2004 speech when we got together. So Obama wasn't even a thing yet. They had talked about him. Remember the speech he gave in 2004? Well, this guy's a uniter. Remember that? Yeah. That's what I remember from 2004. This Obama guy, he's a uniter. He's going to bring everybody together. Uh-huh. And what people don't realize, and you should, is the We Hate Cops and radical transgender movement all came from the Obama administration, and specifically Obama himself. Yeah. People forget about that because by the time when were we talking about it? Okay, yeah, it would have been when he was out in 2015. Yeah. Because not only did he believe, he's the one that pushed the whole radical movement to get the Department of Education and the Department of Justice to change Title IX so men could use women's bathrooms. What a bunch of perverts, by the way, on this all. But my God. Yeah. And finally, I think the Republicans are finally calling it out, and Riley Gaines has really helped in that. But what a bunch of perverts. Sorry. Yeah. I mean, come on. Yeah. Stop it. And if you want to get to the problem that Democrats have today, and they're going to have now that they're not, throwing stuff at Trump, that, because of the assassination attempt, and they're like, okay, we need to find a different a path to go on. Well, what path can they go on? Because they've relied on this for such a long time. But when it really comes down to it, what really started the huge craziness of the Democratic Party is a radical transgender movement. Yep. Right. Remember that, because you and I remember this during the Obama administration and the Charlotte Observer. Girls need to get used to men's genitalia. Yeah. Where the hell does that come from?
It's just bizarre.
And then everything followed that. It was like, well, if we can get people to believe that, we can throw any piece of crap at them, and they'll love it. I mean, that's actually where we got to. But when we started, Obama was just starting to become known. When you and I started working together, that's how long we've worked together. Man, it doesn't seem that long.
Yeah, right.
But happy anniversary, and I want to play this here because this is what, maybe 3 weeks old, 4 weeks old. Claire McCaskill saying this because we said when we played this audio cut, it was recent, and we said, wow, now Claire McCaskill is one of those crazy Democrats.
Right.
But this was posted yesterday by End Wokeness, the X page, End Wokeness. Former Senator Claire McCaskill recently declared on MSNBC that Trump is more dangerous than Hitler and Mussolini. So again, these just aren't people, for example, or hanger-oners, as we talk about to the Republican Party.
Right.
She was a senator.
Yep.
She was a senator who specifically in her losing campaign, I believe to Josh Hawley, in desperation, put out an ad that said, Claire McCaskill isn't one of those crazy Democrats. Yeah, she was and always is. Here we go. Yep.
A lot of people have tried to draw similarities between Mussolini and Hitler and the use of the terminology like vermin and the drive that those men had towards autocracy and and dictatorship. The difference, though, I think makes Donald Trump even more dangerous, and that is he has no philosophy he believes in. He is not trying to expand the boundaries of the United States of America. He's not trying to overcome a neighboring country like Putin is in Ukraine. He is not going for some grandiose scheme of international dominance. All he wants is to look in the mirror and see a guy who's president.
So that makes him worse and more dangerous than Hitler and Mussolini.
Yeah. Wow. You know,
My God.
but the more they do that in the wake of such a serious event on Saturday, worse they look. They don't look like children because children can learn. These people don't seem to have the ability to learn. And there's no way they're going to change what they're doing. They may be quiet for the next few days. I don't think they'll be able to make it through the convention, quite frankly.
No, I don't think they. Two things, because this is what we've got since the assassination attempt. They're cutting out their commercials till further notice. The ones that go after Trump, things like, convicted felon, whatever. Probably a lot of people on the right wish that they would continue those. Maybe this was a convenient way to say we're not going to run them because they're not being effective.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Exactly.
I didn't mean to whisper.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We used to be able to whisper. Now it's creepy.
Nobody's saying that.
But that's number one. I don't think I don't know what issues they hit Trump on, because if they don't use the over-the-top rhetoric, if they don't use the Hitler, Mussolini, end of democracy, will assassinate his political rivals because the Supreme Court allows him to do that now, that he will put people in concentration camps, he will execute people without a trial, that the LGBTQ will disappear. These are all the things just in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Well, where do they go if they can't use that? They're using that for a specific reason, and that's because they can't argue on the issues.
Right.
So where do they go? And I really think that they'll be back to it because they don't care about the criticism, and they'll find a way. Mainstream media will justify it in some way. I think they'll be back to that, and I think they will be back to also we need to get rid of Joe.
Well, and, I think there's no way they can't get back to both. They are built to do this. And also, what do they do in place of it, right? If the entire, let's imagine that they had a big private meeting this week and all got together on Zoom. No Jeffrey Toobin involved, but they would just all, as Democrats and liberals, get on Zoom and have this meeting and decide, okay, we're going to take a different course. Tell me what that would be. In terms of any rhetoric or talk about Donald Trump, what would it be? Would it be, hey, we've been wrong. We really should make America great again, and where can I get one of those hats? No. Of course, that's not going to be it. Would it even be, okay, let's stick to the issues? No. I think they'd be more inclined to say make America great again before they even wanted to talk about the issues, because I don't think they have the ability to actually discuss the issues, because, again, it gets back to the what are you going to say on the issues, and comparing the two candidates. We're at a very unique time in terms of virtually two incumbent candidates, a rematch politically, and you're going to focus on the records of both. Donald Trump He was increasing jobs. We don't need to do that. He was actually growing jobs. He would actually increase your buying power. We don't need that. He had a record low unemployment for minorities. That kind of record is hideous. Where do you go? He successfully lowered corporate tax rates, which allowed corporations to be more competitive and compete for your dollar. How do you
but
do
they
it?
did. Remember when he talked about in the debate? Remember the black jobs controversy? We didn't even talk about it. We never got to that. There were so many things going on. We never got to that because we just went, this is really stupid.
Yeah.
Because he was basically saying, minorities and black jobs are out there. He's saying black jobs, as if it was something that was bad.
Right. As if that breaking down the demographic, they do it all the time.
Yeah. And it was
But if you do it, they're offended. The left, I'm talking about, but they've been doing that for a long, long time. They go after him with, the most heinous of political attacks verbally, and have for the longest time. Now these legal cases against him, the Russian hoax, and everything else. And then when he speaks up about it, they say, oh, well, we never. Yeah, you have. We've seen you do it. And
it's going to be an interesting next couple of weeks because I don't know where the Democrats go right now.
I just feel like over the weekend, on Saturday night, quite frankly, I didn't sleep. And it had to do with so much information coming in. It felt a lot like the days after 9/11, is that turning everything off is just impossible based on what we do. And I was traveling. I was on the road. I don't like sleeping in hotels anyway, and my brain just wouldn't turn off. And I feel like it just feels like, especially this week and for a couple of weeks, it's kind of going to be. I did get sleep yesterday when I got home, but it just feels like those moments where you kind of don't want to turn things off because it's going to be more eventful, I think, than we've seen in a long time. When you and I leave here every day and we ask the question, man, what's going to happen today? I mean, it's not just a rhetorical question. We're really curious about how far it could go. Nobody could foresee what happened over the weekend.
No.
But now politically, where does it go? What happens in Milwaukee? What happens with the party? What happens tonight on the interview with the president doing his big boy interview?
Well, I will say this,
with
that
NBC News.
That I'm old enough where I remember the Kennedy assassination, and I remember Martin Luther King assassination. I remember the Bobby Kennedy assassination. Most of America doesn't.
Right. Yeah.
Most of America doesn't remember. If you take, I mean, that's how old I've gotten. But most of America does. So this was unique. Most of America has never been through that moment where they see a president who's shot, the Secret Service goes down, there's complete chaos, and within probably 2 minutes, the president stands up with his fist on the air, and after an assassination attempt, you hear this incredible applause and the chant of USA, USA. I don't know. Haven't even been able to describe how emotional that was. Now, I didn't see the attempted assassination. I was about a minute behind because I got the text message that quick from a buddy of mine who was watching it. But everything else I saw live.
Yeah.
And the split screen they showed the moment of the attempted assassination.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't know how to process that emotionally.
Yeah. It was. I'm still numb from it. And that's part of the reason I didn't sleep Saturday night is my brain doesn't know how to process that. It's just again, it's one of those things that will, I think, change what's going on in people's minds. Most definitely.
Because even with the fist and the cheering, I'm thinking to myself, get him out of there.
Yes.
We don't know if he was shot
in
the abdomen or the leg. We don't know.
We don't know what's going on. Right.
get him off the stage. And
Because
so
when you think back to Reagan.
yeah, and that's exactly what I was thinking
Yes.
at that point.
Yep.
Reagan thought he was okay.
Right.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So I don't know what to expect today. I know Biden is going to continue campaigning, and I did see that they may start running the ads. It was only a day or two temporary where they're not going to run the ads. Well, they started up again. They're going to get flack.
Yep. There's no way they don't.
Yep.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.